Swift just confirmed it. Blockchain integration is no longer theoretical. November 2025 marks the global go live for tokenized finance at the infrastructure level. If you're an XRP, HBAR, or any utility-driven crypto ecosystem, this changes everything. What is up, everybody? Solomon here. Super excited to be with you all today. Swift is updating for blockchain, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going live, not theoretical, live this November. Swift processes over $150 trillion in cross-border payments annually. It's the backbone of global financial messaging, and now it's evolving. The standards released for 2025, going live on November 22nd, 2025, includes blockchain wallet support, digital ledger and token identifiers, or DLIs and DTIs, smart contract pricing from oracles, network fees for crypto-style payments, nonce tracking for on-chain transaction ordering, and new messaging fields for central bank digital currencies and tokenized assets. This is the biggest institutional endorsement of blockchain infrastructure we've seen yet. Now, I want to get into why XRP, HBAR ecosystems, and any other utility-driven ecosystem that is dealing at kind of the compliant infrastructure level is built for this. Ripple's vision has always been clear, using XRP as a bridge asset for cross-border payments. Hedera's path, building public distributed ledger technology infrastructure for enterprise-grade applications, from ESG reporting to tokenized identity. These networks are, I'm going to say the cliche term here, ISO 20022 aligned. Platforms on top of these networks are ISO 20022 compatible, not directly the digital assets themselves, but platforms within these ecosystems. They're serving real businesses, not just crypto native users, and they're already working with governments, banks, and Fortune 500 entities. Now that Swift is officially recognizing blockchain native constructs, networks like XRP and HBAR aren't just fringe technology adopted networks kind of at the pioneering path of innovation. They're foundational to this new infrastructure. I want to get into what's actually changing here. So these are Swift documents. These are the standards releases for 2025. We have the MX November 2025 release, and we have the MT 2025 release. These are, MT right here is about 7 pages. MX right here is 26 pages. I'm not going to bore you with the entire things. These are publicly accessible documents that you can go find. But I'm going to break down what's in these documents for you in relation to blockchain, distributed ledger technology, and crypto. So let's break down the changes here. Number one, place of settlement within this documentation. This can now be a blockchain wallet. Cash accounts can now be correlated directly within CBDC or central bank digital currency or crypto wallet addresses. Network fees are going to offer built-in support for blockchain style fees. Smart contract oracles are going to be accepted as trusted pricing sources. UTI plus nonce will enable tracking of tokenized and sequenced digital transactions on distributed ledgers. Plus, this is happening, like I mentioned, across both MT, which is the legacy, and MX, which is ISO 20022 messaging formats, meaning the entire financial world is being upgraded, not just the new pipes. You can go through and do some targeted searches within these if you'd like. I will try to link this documentation for you guys here. Right within this, you can just see an example, short description of the modification. Swift CR 002154, MT initiated change request. Post meeting feedback for bilateral. Again, this stuff gets pretty heavy and dry. For bilateral collateral management and tri-party collateral management, the implementation of the change request will be, I might be wrong there by saying change request, CR, will be reconsidered for the next available release for ISO 15022 and ISO 20022. It says directly in the Swift documentation, as one example, securities firms are continuing to invest in tokenized assets and testing the underlying technologies. Instead of traditional cash accounts, the CBDC or crypto will be kept at a blockchain address or wallet ID. The current 35 characters that are currently in the Swift standard here in field 97A cash account is not sufficient for all cases. Again, we get 3 targeted hits here for crypto. You can do the same thing for blockchain. MT would be your legacy. MX would be your ISO 20022, just so you can see that this is a legit Swift document. You can see it kind of right at the top here. What this means for the future, though, is really this polar shift that's occurring in 2025 of this year, or actually going live this year. These documents released in June or July of last year, and then they updated them again in November of last year, showcasing what's going live this year in November. This is about more than just technical changes. It's about unlocking programmable finance, regulatory compliance, and real-world tokenization at scale. Expect CBDC launches to fit right within this framework, and stablecoin utilization to fit right within this framework. Expect tokenized securities to settle via distributed ledger technology wallets. Expect networks like Hedera, XRP Ledger, and many, many more to serve as connective tissues and conduits between traditional finance, blockchain, and Web3. Swift is no longer just resisting blockchain. It's adapting to it. Obviously, the needle has been moved, and that means the chains that can plug into this system, they're going to become adopted. They're going to be utilized. These are going to be networks, not just XRPO and not just Hedera, but multiple more that have done the legwork at building out kind of the foundational compliant mechanisms that kind of need to be in place. They've developed the trust. They've gotten integrated within some of these systems. They've had the proof of concept work being done. And as different initiatives start going live within the traditional system, who are they going to go with? Networks that have never been tested or networks that have been battle tested. I would imagine the latter. The final take on these 2 documents here, the 2025 Swift upgrade is very real. It's the on-ramp for global blockchain adoption, not just crypto speculation at this point. This is infrastructure level stuff right here. If you are dealing or a fan of networks with real world use cases that have been battle tested, this is a big signal here. This is real adoption. This is real integration. This is real interoperability. XRP Ledger, Hedera, other utility-driven networks. Welcome to the financial internet. I want to go through a little bit more down the rabbit hole with you guys here, just to put some more context around this. So again, you can find these documents. This is the Standards MX November 2025 release. You can find this on Swift's Knowledge Center. Same thing with MT 2025. You're dealing in an upgrade that includes blockchain and distributed ledger technology in both the legacy framework for MT and the MX framework as well. So yeah, definitely want you guys to read through this. Feel free to go down the rabbit hole yourselves here. It's pretty wild stuff. And as we mentioned, Swift payments messaging deals in the multitudes of trillions of dollars annually. This was at HederaCon, though, and I'm going to share this with you. Some of this stuff gets taken from people. I'm not going to go through, huge amounts of deep dives with RippleNet and how it can disrupt Swift and things like that. We've done multiple dives on that on this channel, but I wasn't doing videos as much back whenever HederaCon occurred at the tail end of, I want to say it was February. This is Alyssa DiCaprio from Swift, and she was sitting on a panel at HederaCon. To give you guys some context here, she's the head of industry engagement for the Americas at Swift now, in its newly created corporate office based in Washington, D.C. She left her post at R3 last year and reports to Swift's chief corporate officer, Rosemary Stone. She's tasked with holding policy dialogues with central banks and international organizations such as the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank. Interestingly enough, I don't have it in this video, but I found a document from Inter-American Development Bank that I was going to do a video on last week. I should probably do that one. Her responsibilities also include the production of collaborative research on digitization and digital technologies, and to promote the use of digital public infrastructure, or DPI is 1,000% a term you guys should be looking at. I've seen there's digital public infrastructure initiatives. Pay attention to terminology with some of these institutions that deals directly, obviously, in blockchain and distributed ledger crypto adoption. So DPI, digital public infrastructure. within the financial sector. She left her post as chief economist at Distributed Ledger Technology within R3. R3 should ring a big, siren bells off in your head with the stuff that was going on with R3 and Ripple and XRP even and XDC. So pay attention to some of these individuals here. And this is Alyssa DiCaprio again. I'm going to play this. So this is at HederaCon, and I'm just going to play this short little clip for you guys.
The question of interoperability is a little bit more tricky, right? Because what we're seeing with stablecoins is this explosion of new types of financial instruments, which is fantastic, but it also increases complexity enormously. And so how do you simplify that? So you make sure that there's still a stable flow, right? And you make sure that everybody can access this, because right now that is definitely not the case, right? You certainly have different sectors that are using it heavily and some sectors that are not using it at all, but that should be using it. So I think in terms of, we've focused a lot on financial fragmentation and how to reduce that. And it's not just a story about one company doing it. It has to be a collaborative effort. One of the things that we're doing is working very heavily on digital public infrastructure. And this is interesting because this is the idea that you have institutions and you have governments, which traditionally have not built payment rails, right? Payment rails are often built by the private sector and sort of backed up by the public sector. And now we see the public sector saying, oh, there's all these things going on. We actually have to be involved in this. And you see this movement of national payment systems, of different regulations about AI and DLT and stablecoins. We've done a lot of POCs, kind of live trials, to understand where the different pressure points are and where the frictions are and how they can be addressed.
Yeah. So in 2025, you've got a lot of live trials coming up. We were talking
Absolutely.
to your team last week, and some amazing stuff coming up.
Question.
So that's Rob Allen as well. And obviously there's kind of a break point in there. I think whenever this came out, obviously a lot of people kind of just took the bull by the horns and really ran with this by, saying that Hedera and Swift integration is 1,000% there. I want to step back a little bit. I'm not going to directly say that, but what I will say is, number one, you have to pay attention to a couple of things. For Swift to directly be at a panel at HederaCon, I think, throws some weight into the mix. I guess I'll kind of say that first and foremost. The second thing is I would pay attention to like the connections there. And at the very end, you saw this individual, and this is Rob Allen. Rob Allen at Australia Payments Plus, saying that they had just had discussions with the team the prior week, the Swift team. So there's some, about different integration, proof of concept type stuff that was going on a little bit later in the year. So I think that that's pretty interesting in and of itself. If you guys aren't aware, Australian Payments Plus is kind of a convergence of a couple of different entities, FTPOS being one of them. And FTPOS, I believe, governing council of Hedera back in the day. I think it's AP Plus now that's sitting on the council of Hedera. Essentially, the entire ACH system of Australia and New Zealand. I believe that the trials going on with Hedera way back in the day, I want to say like 2020 timeframe, were proof of concepts surrounding micropayments and things like that within just the Australian version of FTPOS. I don't believe New Zealand was directly involved. I don't know what the integration points are at this stance, but I think it's interesting just watching the people that are involved and kind of where some of this gravitation is kind of leaning towards. And, I wanted to bring that up for context as well. Swift is like out there in the wild now with, directly, talking about interoperability and stablecoin interoperability and how all this stuff is going to tie in together. And this was at HederaCon at the tail end of February. The other thing I want to bring up just briefly here, and this came out, I think, Friday, is this is from BlackRock this is a sidebar. This is from BlackRock to the SEC Crypto Task Force, requesting a meeting with SEC Crypto Task Force to discuss an overview of BlackRock's digital asset product suite, staking initiatives, tokenization and advancing tokenization of securities under federal securities regulatory frameworks, crypto exchange traded product approval standards, options on crypto exchange traded products. We are far beyond. I mean, this is crazy in 2025. You have BlackRock not only just dipping a toe into the arena with all the other initiatives that they already have announced are going live, But getting into the weeds with all these different, initiatives for tokenization, staking, ETP or exchange traded product approval standards. And I think the post, one of the posts here is, there's going to be trillions. Like I think I saw like a number 8 or 9 trillion. That is small potatoes in regards to how much BlackRock actually deals in. You're not talking about like 8, 9, 10 trillion dollars. For some context, their Aladdin platform, which I think a couple of years ago had integration into Coinbase's kind of enterprise custody stance, BlackRock's Aladdin platform. The last public figures, and maybe there's newer figures now, but I just want to provide some scale around this because it's not 8, 9, 10 trillion dollars from what I was seeing on Twitter on Friday, people talking about some of the numbers. It is way bigger than that. Last time BlackRock revealed any numbers for Aladdin, and again, Aladdin has integration. Aladdin's kind of the enterprise custodial thing through BlackRock. The last numbers, February in 2017, reached around the $20 trillion mark. Public documents showing that $21.6 trillion currently sits on the Aladdin platform from only 1/3 of the Aladdin platform through BlackRock's 240 clients. So, about 80 of the Aladdin platform's clients, out of the 240 clients, you're getting into the $21.6 trillion range. So, this ties in. We think about assets on these platforms. Think about those assets literally being represented on chain from tokenization of the real world assets. So like you're getting up into the tens and tens of trillions of dollars from BlackRock alone. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to provide a little bit of context around that as well. Because even if you do just like a simple Google search on BlackRock, this is getting into securities too. Securities, BlackRock has disclosed around 5,427 shares of their latest SEC filings, with a portfolio value of 4.761 trillion. So that's the security standpoint, 4.76 trillion. Then you get into their kind of institutional, enterprise or institutional, high net worth individual platform, which is Aladdin, and you get up into the $21.6 trillion dollar range. So, but when we talk kind of tokenization of everything, you start kind of just add some of the numbers up and it gets wild. But I want to close this out. Again, the 2025 Swift upgrade is very real. It's coming in November for both MX and MT, dealing very much so in crypto, dealing very much so in distributed ledger technology and digital assets and tokenization and all the stuff we talk about for literally an entity that is so baked into the traditional system that it should open up some eyes. I mean, this stuff is like not just being talked about. It's literally the integration points are going live. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will talk to you when I talk to you. Please like and subscribe if you like this content. And if you're done waiting for hype and hearing about hype and ready for the real world change that's coming, share this video. And thank you guys. All right, bye.